So it has been quite a while since I sat down to film a writing video, and I'm still not really sure where to go with it, but we're going to do our best here. I did film a couple nano videos last year for November. One of them was a complete video, and the other two that I filmed were spotty and didn't have all the days that the title says that it's supposed to, so I'm just not going to upload them. I didn't meet the 50,000 goal, obviously, but I did write more words in November than I had for many months before that, which was something. There's just not enough things in the videos that are interesting to upload. It's not worth editing them, it's not worth uploading them or anything like that. I did edit and upload the first video, but I didn't make it public because there's just really no point, and that's fine with me. About the only thing that I did that was worth it for the nano videos was I made a new writing YouTube channel intro, and that I'm going to keep. That's going to be in the new videos. You would have seen that already, and I think I'm happy with that, so that's something. But at the moment it is January 13th, 2022, and before I talk about writing or plans for 2022, I do want to mention briefly that last year sucked a lot for a lot of reasons, but in particular December was very hard. Roxy, our senior boxer Rottweiler, I was really hoping I wouldn't get teary-eyed as soon as I said her name, but I did. She had an issue on her face since July. Sorry, that was Kin running into the tripod. She had an issue with her face since July, and we had taken her to the vet many times. At one point they did a scraping to make sure it wasn't mange. She was on round after round after round of antibiotics and prednisone and a different type of antibiotics and a different type of antibiotics and a different type of anti-inflammatory, and nothing was helping, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and she'd keep scratching at it, and the antibiotics would clear it up for a little bit, and then as soon as she was off of them it would get worse again. And so finally at the end of November they did a biopsy, and the initial results came back that she more than likely had cancer, but they were going to run more tests to try and rule that out. But before we even got the results of the extra tests they were doing, her breathing got really bad. It was really ragged and fast, and she just looked so miserable all the time, and she had to wear the cone all the time. It just wasn't good. So on December 13th, a month ago today, we made the very difficult decision to put Roxy down. And that was very hard, and it has affected every single aspect of my life. But it affected writing in a way that I wasn't expecting it to. Normally writing is, or it used to be, a way for me to escape from what was going on in my real life. I used to use writing to get through anxiety and panic attacks and stress at school and stress in my personal life and stuff like that. But with Roxy gone, that doesn't work at all. Roxy was one of my greatest writing buddies and writing supporters. When I would type in my mom's room, she used to sit up on the bed behind me, and you've seen her in a million of my videos, laying behind me and snoring behind me while I'm filming. And she would always be there, snoring, and occasionally she'd lift her head to make sure I was still in the room, and then she'd go back to sleep. And then of course, after July, months down the line, after the prednisone had basically destroyed her body, she couldn't make it up onto the bed anymore, so she would lay on the floor on the other side of the bed, but I could still hear her breathing and snoring and snorting and groaning, and those things are part of my process. I haven't really done much of anything since Roxy passed away. I don't really do much writing. I don't do much of anything. I do work for my clients when I have editing or formatting to do, which is a wonderful distraction every time that I score a new client. But when it comes to my own stuff, I don't know how to approach it. I don't know how to do it anymore. I can take her anywhere with me. She's right here. But it's not the same, and it will never be the same. I'm gonna take a longer break this time. I'll be back in a few. Partly because of Roxy and partly because of some migraine headache issues, I can't really be on the computer anymore. I save my computer time specifically for my client work because I have to do my client stuff on the computer, but I can technically do writing on my phone. But if I sit in front of the computer screen even for like 60 seconds, I have a migraine pretty much for the rest of the night. And that's probably partially related to like my neck being out of place, and it's probably partially related to whatever is wrong with me in the chronically ill sense. Also, I apologize that I'm so close to the camera. Willie is, he stole my spot where I was sitting while I was blowing my nose, so I'm actually gonna scoot you back a little. But, I don't go into my mom's room much because of those two reasons. So I try to do some writing out here on my phone and my Bluetooth keyboard, but looking at my phone also hurts my eyes and gives me a headache, sometimes a migraine, and it often makes me nauseous and or sick to my stomach. And I don't know if that's specifically a real issue I'm having, or if it is my grief and my emotions displaying themselves in a more physical manner, because it could go either way. And when you have a chronic illness and you've been medically gaslit, it's hard to know for sure which way it goes, and it's hard to trust yourself either way. I don't know which way I believe it is, and I don't know which way I would trust the most, but it's a real issue regardless of which way it is, and that's part of what keeps me from doing much of anything. But I am working on figuring out a way to renew my writing process to revolve around other things. Everybody experiences changes in their writing process. And I wish that this isn't the change I had to experience in mine, but it is. And a lot of times when I am trying to write, I look over still expecting to see her sleeping on my mom's chair over here, which is actually what I'm looking at right now. She's just not there. And I'm still working on working around that, and it's gonna take a while. I need about 20 more animals to fill all of my spare time to distract myself, and then maybe I could get something done. But in 2022 I do have several goals in mind for the year, and the biggest one is actually not writing related. And if you've known me for any amount of time at all, it shouldn't surprise you at all to know that the biggest goal I have for 2022 is to register a nonprofit animal sanctuary, despite the fact that I know it's going to be hell to raise a bunch of senior animals in addition to special needs puppies and young adults and so on and so forth. But they deserve forever homes, so it's something I want to do. But with that being my biggest goal, that is going to be the thing that I focus on the most. But I do have a lot of writing goals as well, and I would like to get into those, but I would like to preface that by saying that if I have to choose between working on the sanctuary goal or my writing goals, I'm going to focus on the sanctuary goals. Because that makes me happier right now than writing does. Because writing and I have had a very complicated relationship for quite some time,
and since Roxy's passing, it has only gotten more and more deeply complicated. I did type up my goals here on my phone earlier, so I'm going to be looking at that so I can actually tell them to you, because on top of everything else, another great thing I live with is a lot of memory issues and issues with my recall, so I would not remember any of these things if I didn't tell you about them by looking at them here. So one of my writing goals for this year is to write a story in each of my main genres that I tend to work in, which is like mafia, crime, paranormal, supernatural, and romance. So for my mafia genre, I'm planning on rewriting book 1 of the Jamal Pittman series, which as it stands is currently the furthest back of any of my books. It takes place in the 70s, give or take. It might start in 1969, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I would like to eventually get back around to Grim Reaper. If you've been around for a while, you know that book is basically my white whale, and that means eventually getting back to Manetti Horror Twins and Rise of Viper and everything that comes around that same time period. But right now I want to focus on the Jamal Pittman series, because what happens there affects the course of every other book, because it's, or every other mafia book, because it's mafia. For my crime genre, I have several I would like to work on, but the one that I would like to focus on the most is book 2 of the Riley PD series. And if things go well, that would also be the book that I would publish this year. Book 1 is Letters from a Madman. That was published in 2020? I can't remember. You'll have to ask my Amazon page. Like I said, I don't remember much of anything. I'm going to be honest with you. If I can't take notes on it, if I don't have it in front of me, I don't really remember it. Book 1 was Letters from a Madman. So, book 2, ideally, would be Beans from a Butcher, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the one I'm going to stick with. I might let my readers vote on book 2 again. They voted for the original book 2. But we'll see what happens. I would also, in terms of crime, like to work on rewriting The Surgeon, which is book 1 of the Bo Austin series. But it's not my main focus, because book 2 of the Riley PD series can be published whenever, but Bo Austin I don't want to be published until I know if Jake and Alice are going to have a series, until I know if Dallas Silver is going to have a series, and until I know if the Young Bo series is going to be a thing or not, because all of those things take place before The Surgeon, and if I write The Surgeon first, then that's the timeline I have to stick with. Writing Dallas's series, Jake and Alice's series, and the Young Bo series cannot change at all from what happens in the Bo Austin series, if that makes sense. And that's why the Riley PD is what I would be focusing most of my attention on in terms of the crime book that I will be working on this year. Oh my goodness. Romance, I'm working on Truths and Chains, which I call V&E on Twitter and often Instagram, but it kind of depends. And that one's a mafia romance, so that's the Manetti Horror Twins, that's related to them. For paranormal, I'm planning on writing book 1 of the Red series. I started the Red series forever ago, maybe in like 2017, 2018, I want to say. And I really enjoyed writing it, but it was purposely similar to the Ashley Jones series because people really liked that when I was writing on Wattpad, and I didn't want to write Ashley anymore because I didn't like her, but readers liked her, so I primarily wrote an alternate universe version of Ashley and Seth for the Mysterious Red books. But in my documents they always had different names, but it drastically screwed up a lot of things for me in the book, in the series, and the characters, and I'm going to start completely over from scratch. The only thing that stayed the same pretty much is the character names. But there's going to be new characters, there's a new plot, and it's going to take place in a completely different year. They're completely different ages. They might even be like way younger. She and the love interest might both be like high school juniors or seniors or something. But we'll see what happens, and I'm excited to get into it. And for Supernatural, because I do differ Supernatural from Paranormal personally, is Christmas Cannibal. This is actually technically a romance as well, just like Tito and Vito's, or sorry, just like Vito and Elias's Truth in Chains. But I'm about 90% sure that that's the one that I'm going to be counting for the supernatural genre, because I don't think there's anything else I want to be writing for supernatural right now that isn't a romance. So that's probably the plan. So that's probably the one that's going to be counted as the supernatural genre, even though it is a supernatural romance, with romance being the primary genre. But, you know, it's my rules, so I can make them up as I go along. What are you doing? And then, finally, if we're lucky, I might even write a zombie story this year. I would love to, but I always would love to, and it normally doesn't work. Sorry, I'm wiping Kenny's sad boy tears away. I don't even care if it's a novel. I don't even care if it's a novella. I would even take a zombie short story at this point. I just want to write something zombie related. I love zombies. I love playing zombie games. I used to really love watching The Walking Dead. I stopped watching it shortly after they introduced Negan. I really loved Santa Clarita Diet. I really loved iZombie, the Telltale Walking Dead video games, Left 4 Dead, Days Gone, Dying Light. There's another zombie show I really like, Z Nation. There's so many zombie things that I'm just so interested in, and I love watching and reading and playing and immersing myself in those worlds. But I wrote 2 100 to 200,000 word books about zombies when I was in high school, and I've never been able to complete any after that. But I have hope and dreams that someday I will finish another zombie book, but we'll see how things go. So in the writing sense of things, that is primarily my my main goals for 2022, is to finish at least one book in every single one of my genres, which is a very ambitious goal for someone like me who has taken a deep nosedive away from writing for the last several years. But if I sit my ass down and do it, it is doable. I used to write at least one novel every single month. But in between taking care of my furry babies and being sad all the time and being fatigued and exhausted and in pain all the time, maybe I can find the room to do it. But that's all I have for right now. My camera's about to die. I'll see you guys with an update of some kind. I'm not sure how I'm going to do videos this year. I'm not sure what kind of direction each video is going to go, but when I figure it out, I'll see ya. But for right now, that's all that I have. Thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry for crying, and I hopefully will see you in the next one. Bye for now.